Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Dunk, and today we're here with finally another update. So this is going to be version 88 for TerraFirmaCraft Plus, and this is a big update. I know it's been a while. It's been over a year, I think, since the last update. So I've been working hard on this. I mean, there have been some changes in my life. I think I've posted an update or two on the community tab of my channel. Um, but last time I made a video like this, I was unemployed. Uh, that's changed since August. I've had a full-time job as a software developer. Um, so that has obviously taken up a bit of my time. Not been as easy to work on TerraFirmaCraft with that going on. But I am happy to get this update out for you guys now. And then the other thing that has changed in my life um, is that I'm now engaged to my I guess my now fiance, and that's been I'm really glad that I was able to do that. But enough of that. Let's get on to the update itself. So as you can see, I think we can start with maybe the most obvious change here is that the water here looks a little funky, and that is because this is actually not water. This is tannin. In fact, we are in a new biome here. You can see on Journey Map that the color of the water here is quite odd. And that is because we are in a peat bog. So that is a new biome that's being added. So swamps will occasionally turn into peat bogs if the pH value of the area is low enough. So if the area is quite acidic, you'll get a peat bog forming. And so in a peat bog, tannin will occur naturally. And instead of grass or dirt, we're going to have peat like all over the place. So like all the way down, like 4 blocks down, it's all peat in a peat bog. Just thought that'd be like a cool little thing to add. And this also can show off that we actually have like dynamically changing water colors, I guess. So you can see like over there we have regular water, and here we have tannin. There's kind of like a smooth transition between them. You can jump into it, and you can see like, we have like you can kind of just see as the colors change, like to this greenish color of the swamp water from the browner color of the tannin. Yeah. So, I mean, in case anyone's wondering, peat bogs do exist in real life, and they do have naturally occurring tannin. You can Google it. There's all sorts of things that they will like pull out of peat bogs that have been in there for a couple thousand years and look like they were in there. Organic things, people, even that due to the tannin preserving them, look like some of them look like they could have died very recently, even though they may be from like the Iron Age or whatever. But let's get into the rest of the features in this update. One of the major ones is that there's a total rework of armor. So that is, I think, going to take the longest to explain and to understand. So let's get into that right now. So the new armor system, you can see we have all our slots here. So this is our armor slots. These are our like kind of middle slots where later on you might have like chainmail or something, and then like the kind of inner clothing slots. So like say I could look at this copper chest plate. It says damage threshold 350. And that's a very important number to understand. So what that means is that if there's an attack incoming towards me, so someone attacks me, and they do up to 350 damage, then this armor could could safely block a large amount of that damage. In fact, if we hold shift, we can actually see that it says pierce 90%, slash 80%, and crush 70%. So what that means is that 90% of piercing damage up to 350 damage will be blocked, 80% of slashing damage up to 350 will be blocked, and 70% of crush damage up to 350 will be blocked. Let's take an example. If someone hits you for 100 piercing damage, this armor will absorb 90% of it, 90 points of it. You'll only take 10 piercing damage. Slashing, it would absorb 80 points, so you take 20, and crush, it would absorb 70, and you take 30. If the damage is above 350, so if that 90% of the piercing was greater than 350, so for example, the piercing damage was more than 383, well, not 385, it's somewhere around 385, such that 90% of that number is more than 350. It's only going to take out 350, and anything over that is going to get applied to you. Um, Additionally, if that happens, your armor is going to take damage. So that's actually what causes durability damage on armor now, because that's been reworked a little bit. Is that if you have like a mechanical failure, being that the amount of damage you took was too much for the armor to handle, in practice that's going to be like someone's attacking your copper chestplate with a steel sword. That's gonna like take a big chunk out of your chest plate, and you're gonna take the damage. You're gonna feel that, and your armor's gonna feel it. But let's talk about the body part coverage there. So internally, there's a whole system where all the different armor pieces have. Um, it's kind of like a texture. You could kind of imagine it. There's like pixels for the different parts of your body, for like your arms, your torso, your face, your legs, your feet, and each piece of armor knows which parts of your body it's covering, which pixels it's covering. And when you're attacked, it will pick a random place on your body to place the attack, and then it'll check whether or not your armor overlaps with that attack, and that will determine how effectively your armor can block it. So by default, this is the simplest form of copper chestplate, has 0 arm protection. For now, arms are just going to be something that's just unprotected for you. I am gonna be adding um, uh, better chest plates in the future. I think there's actually going to start off with a separate kind of like metal arm guards, van braces, something like that, and then you'd be able to combine it with a chest plate to have like a piece of armor that would do both. But for now, 0% of your arms are covered. Your arms are not very likely to be hit. Your torso is a much, much bigger target, so that's really what you want to be heading there. And you can see it says 67% of your torso is covered. The reason it's 67% is twofold. There is a bit of gap around the neck. There's, I think, a bit of a gap down the side, perhaps. But then I think the majority of it is that the torso. Oh, it's starting to rain. The torso also includes the kind of the hips and groin area, so part of that will actually be covered by your pants. So you can also see it says total 0%, and that is actually going to keep track of when you have multiple pieces of clothing on, it will keep track of the overlap, um, so that you can get a better idea of whether 2 pieces of clothing or armor are protecting the same part of your body or different parts. So that is how that works. And then, so we can compare the 350 here. You see 90, 80, 70%. If we look at the iron chestplate, you see 720 damage threshold, 95, 85, 75. So you can see the iron chestplate is quite a bit better than the copper. Still, the body part coverages are the same, and that is going to be true for, I think, all of the chest plates. So all the chest plates now are going to be pretty bare bones. There's not going to be an arm component to them. We also have boots here. You can see it covers 50% of your feet. I mean, that's just the way they are. I think, again, we'll probably be adding some better types of equipment, better sabatons, but that'd be something you'd have to make with like a higher smithing level. There'd be like the very basic kind of crude stuff that you could make at the beginning of the game, or with without as much skill, and then there would be a reward for investing more into making better equipment. So that is this armor here. We can also talk about, I mean, there's a ton of stuff in this inventory, as you can see. Just quickly, we can look at this horn. So this is a second type of horn that is dropped by sheep. You can turn it into a, excuse that. Let's grab that. Oh, actually, I've turned off the sound, so you can't hear, but it is a blowing horn, and you could make a sound with it, but that's currently, let me actually, is it ambient environment, I think? Yep, there it is. But let's actually turn that off again. So that's the blowing horn. You can see we also got a horn tip from it. Another thing that I've added is a sling. So let's actually show how those work, because I think people have wanted slings for a while. So this is a primitive sling, requires grass cordage and a piece of straw, so pretty easy to make. And then you just need a ammo in your hotbar, so it could be a rock, any kind of rock, or a lead bullet, which we'll talk about in a sec. So the way that if you have the ammo on your hotbar, you hold right click to start swinging, and then just release it to throw your rock. And that will do ranged crushing damage. So pretty good against skeletons. There is like it kind of the aiming is a little interesting that it's it kind of comes off of like a little to the right of where your cursor is. You can see it actually kind of missed that tree. But if I aim like that, it kind of goes, well, trees have weird hitboxes. But I hope that kind of makes sense. We can talk about lead bullets. I guess we can also show what it looks like. Let's get a lead bullet. So the sling kind of just winds up, and then you release it. So the lead bullet is made with lead, as I'm sure you guessed. It does quite a bit more damage than the rocks do. However, if the lead bullet hits a hard surface such as stone, then the bullet will get deformed into a chunk of lead, and you'll have to melt it down and recast it if you want to get your bullet back. So there is that aspect of it. I'm not sure where the lead bullets that I launched went, but oh, is this vanilla clay? That's vanilla clay. Look at that. So let's not grab vanilla clay. Let's grab TFC clay. And then show how we can make the lead. So, nope, not like that. Let's do a little carefully. That's the wrong mold. Cool. So just pretend that this is a a clay lead bullet mold. I can actually just grab one of those out of creative. I'm sure I've accidentally just like misplaced the recipe. I think I even remember accidentally pasting over it with the candle holder. So this is the clay bullet mold. So you'll be able to fire this, and then you'll be able to cast 4 bullets at a time with it. So you can see 10 units of lead per bullet. In fact, there's actually a whole system with like chunks of metal. That's a high carbon black steel, I think. Yeah, there's a lead chunk. So this is what you'd see if your lead bullet hit a rock. It would turn into one of these, and it's still 10 units, so you could just melt it down in a crucible and cast it back into a mold. Also have metal scrap. And this is just anytime that you have. This is just a catch-all for anytime there's amount of metal that's more than 100 units, more than an ingot's worth. This is what the purpose of scrap is. I haven't fully implemented it yet, but it is going to be involved with the smithing update. Just link some of the groundwork for that. Anyway, by the time you guys get this update, that recipe will be correct. We can move on from that. I guess we can talk about, because there are actually a couple other types of sling. So this was the primitive sling, but we also have, let's actually go to proper debug mode because I want to not have to worry about my hunger. Okay, so let's grab some rope. So if we put any kind of hat piece and some rope, we can get a cloth sling, and a leather hat piece and rope will get us a leather sling. So these slings are just a little better than the primitive sling. Primitive sling actually is gonna the durability is gonna be pretty bad on it, whereas the leather sling and the cloth sling will have better durability. The primitive sling, as you guys saw, was pretty cheap, so you probably have to keep a lot of them on you if you wanted to not have issues with just running out of them, because I think the durability is probably going to be like something very, under 30, probably 24, 16, something like that. It's something you could use in a pinch, but not what I'd recommend for a permanent kind of weapon. In fact, bows are relatively cheap as well. So anyway, Let's talk about some of the new clothing that's added because there are quite a few new types of clothing that we've added, that I've added in there. So if I throw a silk pants piece up there and a knife, we can see a silk shorts piece. Also get some silk scraps. So I've kind of reworked how clothing making works, where every time that you're making clothing pieces, you're actually going to get these scraps back. These are replacing the repair patches. So repairing, it does take a little more cloth now to repair things. Like you're going to need more repair patches, but you get way more scraps, and also you can sew 16 scraps together to get an entire second piece of cloth. So as you're making things and you're picking up scraps, you can either be using them to repair, or you can actually get whole pieces of cloth back to make more pieces of clothing. And I think that it will just help balance so that certain recipes don't end up like costing an entire piece of cloth. So that's a silk shorts piece. In fact, let's do it again so that we can get two of them, because that is a new type of clothing that we have. There's silk shorts. We also have, like, just to demonstrate, we have, you guys remember, those are two different types of clothing. But I can show you that the cotton shirt body actually can make a sleeveless shirt. If I'm going to need, I guess, a wool shirt body. So let's grab, ignore this. These are placeholder. Don't report this as a bug. If you see these in creative mode, it's not a bug. All right, it's not a bug. That's wool. So let's grab a wool shirt body. Let's go back into survival. And yeah, so let's show so the shirt still does work as normal. But I can take that and a knife and chop it in half so that we have short sleeves. And then I can take this and make a kind of like a t-shirt. So that actually means that the t-shirt requires one fewer pieces of cloth to make because it only needs one sleeve. Of course, the sleeveless shirt requires even fewer than that because you don't need it to make any sleeves at all. But with the new features to do with like the coverage on your body, because as I said, like with armor and all sorts of clothing, the clothing can tell whether or not, like, what parts of your body it's actually covering. Having a short sleeve or sleeveless shirt will be worse for you. So there's our wool t-shirt, which we can put on. So we pick it up and it says, hey, this is the only slot that's valid. I can put that on. It immediately starts getting damp because it's raining. You can see it's got damage resistance 80, pierce, slash, and crush armor ratings of 50, 50, and 60%. So this will try to block a bit of the damage. Excuse me. That's just the stats that wool has, specifically. You can see that the coverage there is 29% of your arms, 78% of your torso. So we also have bare fur pants. That's another new item, because fur pants did not exist before. You can see it goes in this slot. That suddenly made me sweaty. You can see here that torso 78%, total 97%. So the pants are covering the kind of hips and groin area. The shirt is covering like your upper torso. And so the total 97% is just an area around like your neck that's exposed. In a future update, we're going to actually be seeing some sunburning mechanics that are related to the types of shirt you're wearing. But that's actually being left out from this update. So that's the clothing mechanic. Another thing that I've added is that, watch this. Oh, okay, so the sound wasn't playing there, but yeah. Pottery Smashes now. When you die, any pottery that you have on you is going to smash on the ground. It is possible to place pottery, like throw it with like with Q or whatever button you use onto a surface. If that surface is kind of at your waist level, you can throw it onto there without it smashing. And also, if it falls into water, it won't smash. But pretty much all pottery smashes when it hits the ground now. So does glass for glass bottles. And that's something that I thought kind of made sense. It is another reason to try to move away from using vessels as storage. If you want, I mean, we have leather bags, you can always use those. Well, um, let's see. We've covered a lot of the things in this update. There are, I think, a few things behind the scenes that have been changing. There's a lot of work that went into reworking how the sewing mechanics work behind the scenes. There's a lot of work that's gone into changing how grass is colored. I'm not sure if you've noticed. I mean, along with the water, the grass is all very different. In fact, there's variation in the grass color now. It's not super obvious because we're in a very lush area here. There's also color variation among the leaf blocks, which is nice. And I've massively reduced world gen lag. So, in fact, we're in this jungle here. We're getting 59, 56, pretty much close to 60 FPS in this jungle. And I can start loading some chunks, and unless there's some sort of like cave generating that's going to cause a ton of blocks to fall all at once, we're going to see minimal to no lag as we generate these chunks. It's a cherry tree. I think that covers most of what I wanted to talk about in this update. As I think it was probably indicated, there were probably going to be quite a few bugs. Oh, yeah, that exertion and slowness. I'm getting slowness because I'm overheating so much because I was running around. I don't have. Oh, I have silk pants. Doesn't want me to wear silk pants. As I said, oh, those are pants pieces. What am I talking about? I actually have to sew these together. Of course, you can't wear silk pants pieces. Let's sew it together. And then I can put these on, and that'll help cool me off, I think. I'm pretty sure silk pants help with that. Let's chop that. Cool. There we go. Yeah, they get a bit of heat resistance, but I actually don't have the heat resistance because it's raining. So let's turn that off. Anyway, I'm just standing there trying to make the pants actually let me cool down enough. But yeah, so if we keep walking this way, we're gonna see that we're gonna be able to load some new chunks and not have any world gen lag, which is amazing. We are gonna, I mean, at least in the dev environment, it does take a little while to render the chunks, but the actual generating of them is fine. So there's that. I think you guys will have to take a look. I'm actually really happy with the way that the grass looks in the different color and temperature combinations, because it is now more based on color and temperature. So how dry or wet your area is, plus how warm or cold it is. I've also reduced how often shrubs will spawn. I think some people didn't like the some people are getting some pretty bad lag with them, but also I believe I think they were just too numerous. Like they were getting in the way, and I think they were kind of clogging up the world a little bit. So I've kind of reduced them. They also generate more in clumps now. Other thing I've done is sharks spawn more now. For what that's worth, just kind of bumped up their spawn parameters. In fact, let's jump into creative because we are in a tropical area, so we might actually have a reef around here that we could take a look at. Oh, I can even see a reef through the terrain. So, I've also, another thing I did was, I don't know if we'll see any, but I fixed brain coral. Previously, was not rendering correctly. So let's set the time daytime. That'll help. Oh, here's a brain coral. In this lighting mode, it is rotated like 90 degrees, so it's going to be a weird color on that side. Oh, we got some starfish and scallops. So just give it some time. We might get a shark spawning here. We do have 2 reefs, so that does increase our chances. But I believe there was actually a bug that stopped sharks from spawning altogether. It made it, I think, impossible for them to spawn. Other thing we've done is I've limited how high beaches and shores will get. Thank you, Rain. So they will not get very tall because I was just finding that there's some generation code that was causing them to get like very spiky. And also above a certain height, it just generates as like raw stone. So you'll have like rocks sticking out of the ground instead of just like big hills of sand. Any sharks? No? No sharks? Oh well. You guys will have to find them for yourself then. So there's that. I guess another thing I should say about, I guess I should mention about armor, is that if you have a piece of armor and like some clothing underneath it, for example, silk pants. Let's say you had like copper plate legs, like your greaves, and then you had silk pants underneath, and you got hit in the legs. So, assuming that the attack doesn't overcome the damage threshold of your greaves, then the damage will be converted into crushing damage from whatever type it was originally. So, let's say it was slashing or piercing. If the copper greaves are not broken by the attack, it will be converted to crushing and then passed down to whatever is underneath them. So if you were wearing silk pants underneath, then you can see silk pants at a 60% reduction, only up to 100. That's not that great normally, but if you have like your copper greaves already taken off 70 or 80%, if it's better than copper greaves, let's say 80% of the damage has already been removed by let's say like iron greaves or something. So let's say there's like a 200 damage coming to your legs. Your iron greaves take off 80% of it, so that's only 40 damage going down. Then your silk pants would, you see, 40 damage is way less than the 100 damage threshold for your silk pants. So your silk pants would easily take off another 60%, which would mean that the actual damage that you'd take would therefore be 16 damage, I think. Yeah, so by having that combination of, layers of clothing underneath your armor, you actually can greatly reduce the amount of damage that you take. With the armor that's currently available, there will always still be some damage that's getting to you because the coverage is not great. There are a lot of gaps in the armor, but in the smithing update and or perhaps before then, I'm going to be adding a ton of armor pieces that will have much higher coverages. Part of that is going to require much higher skill levels once the smithing update is really in there. The kinds of articulation that you need to cover your shoulder areas and the different joints you have requires quite a bit of skill. So that will be involved to get the coverage that allows you to better defend yourself against attacks. You will need higher skill. And the other thing, though, is that the type of attack that's hitting you will greatly affect how effective your armor is, because something like an arrow or a javelin is going to have like a very narrow hit box, like the parts of your body that it hits. So it's much more likely that it won't touch any of your armor. If this thing covers 67% of your torso, then that means that there's only a 2/3 chance that a given arrow attack is even just going to hit this at all. Whereas something like a mace or a sword, which has a much wider area of attack, is much less likely to hit your flesh and not the armor. So that's something to keep in mind, is that the type of attack that's going after you is going to affect how likely it is that you're going to get hit. If you guys have any questions, you can feel free to ask them on Discord. I hope you guys get a chance to really enjoy this update and test it out. If you do find a bug that is not one of those sleeve things in the menu there, please let me know. You can submit a bug report, and I will be trying to keep some hot fixes going this weekend. Probably get a couple in before Monday, at least. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you want to support me, you can leave a like, leave a comment, and check out the Patreon. It's only $1 a month, and I try to at least post some updates and screenshots and keep you informed about the progress of development. So a lot of the stuff I've talked about here has been shown on Patreon before with screenshots and explanations. So if you're interested in finding out about that sort of stuff before the update comes out, you can hit me up there. Otherwise, once again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see all of you next time.